Okay, when we were in class, we took this one, or this type of problem, and the first thing we did was we factored it. Let's see, that's going to be -3 and -6. Then we put those values on a number line. We did 3 and then 6, and then we did test regions to see where it's true and where it's false. So we picked a value that is within each region. So for example, we might have let x equal 0 here, and maybe 4 here, and maybe 7 here. And then we plug them in and see if the inequality comes up to be true or false. For 0, if I plug that in, I'll have a positive product, which is what I want. I want it to be greater than 0, so this will be true. For 4, I'll end up with a positive times a negative, which is not greater than 0. And for 7, I'll be back to true. And then I'm going to use my parentheses and shade in the direction where it's true. And so that answer looks like B. Number 9. It's already set to 0, so I'm ready to go to my number line. I'm going to use 7 and -8 because that's where the top goes to 0 and the bottom goes to 0. All right, if I let x equal -9, I'll be there. If I let x equal 0, I'm here. And if I let x equal 0, I'm here. I'm sorry, if I let x equals 8, I'm on this side. Okay, if I put -9 in, I'll have a negative quantity divided by a negative quantity, which is not less than 0. So false. If I put in 0, I'll have a negative over a positive, which is true. And 8 makes it negative. I'm sorry, 8 makes a positive over a positive, which is positive, and that's not less than 0. Now, you might think that because it's equal to, you're going to have brackets on both. However, we talked about this in class. You can't have a bracket on a number that's coming from the denominator. So on the -8, I must have a parenthesis because I cannot equal -8. But I can have a bracket on 7. And so I'm looking at my answers, and that looks like answer D. Be careful with these problems. The answers are all going to look very similar, and if you're going too fast and you don't look at what you're doing, you're going to miss it. Number 10. I'm going to move that work over here, and I'm going to write it in a table. So for the first inequality, I just simply write it down without the absolute value bars. And for the second one, I flip my symbol over and I change the 11 to a -11. When it's less than, this is the word and. So I'm going to find the x values that are in both sets. Oh, I'm sorry, I wrote an x here. There is not an x right there, so let me fix that real quick. Okay. I'm going to subtract 2 over. Okay, and that's going to be what? A 9. And then divide by -3. Don't forget to switch your inequality over. And I'm going to subtract 2 over, divide. Again, make sure you have these inequalities in the correct position. All right, so I need to find numbers that are greater than or equal to -3, so heading this way, and less than or equal to 13 over 9, so heading this way. So I'm going to be trapped in between them. And that answer looks like, let's see here. Oh, I said 13 over 9. No, I miss you guys catching my mistakes. How about 13 over 3? I don't know where the 9 came from. Anyway, that looks like answer C. Okay, number 11. Same idea. I'm going to move that work over here. So this was number 10. Okay, number 11. I'm going to start with 3x plus 2 is greater than 4. So I'm going to move that negative 3 over first. Then I'm going to split it into two inequalities. 3x plus 2 is greater than 4. 3x plus 2 is less than negative 4. Okay, this one started off with a greater than, so that's the word or. So I'm graphing numbers that are greater than 2/3 or less than negative 2. So greater than 2/3 is 2/3 to infinity, less than negative 2. So I'm looking for those two sets. I can also graph that on a number line, get the same result. Number 12. We had this discussion in class that when it's set to a negative number, I have to be super careful. Remember that this quantity here is always a positive quantity. No matter what I put in there for x, it's going to be positive. A positive value is always greater than a negative number, so a positive value on the left is always greater than or equal to a negative 8. So the answer that we're looking for is going to be B. Number 13. X is within 7 units of 10. So the 10 has to be on the right side. And I'm going to be 7 above or 7 below. It's always x minus on these, so the answer to 13 is A. Oh, they said the answer is C. I'll come back to that one later, I guess. If I'm within 7 units of 10, I'm going to be at 3 or 17. And I believe if I take my A and solve it, I'll have x is less than 17 or x is greater than negative 3. Oh, I am backwards. All right, let's just do that over again. Sorry guys, it's been a little while on that one. Okay, within 7 units means I want to be up or down 7, so I do need to switch that. So I guess I just showed you a good way to problem solve to make sure you're correct. Within does not include the equal to, so we're going to go with C. Now if you want to check yourself, like I just did earlier, I should get 17 and 3. And I do. So now I'm convinced that C is correct. All right, number 14. And I don't think you're going to have any problem with this, but g of a minus 1 simply means that where I have x, a minus 1 goes in its place. And you're just going to simplify that down. The answer should be D. For 15, I want to write it as a function, so I'm going to solve that for y. Okay, and there's different variations of your answer. The one that I have is going to match up with D. Find the slope of the line. Solve for y again. I'm going to divide by 4, so my slope would be -3/4. Okay, this is a vertical line, so it's x equals, and then it crosses through -2, so x equals -2. All right, I need to find my slope first. If a line is parallel, it's going to have the same slope. The only line that has that slope is B. If you're interested in getting the exact equation, you can plug in your ordered pair and your slope and solve that equation for y. If I'm graphing a line, or if I'm making a line that's perpendicular, I'm going to solve for y again. Okay, so y is 3/8 x plus 35/8. If I'm perpendicular, my slope's going to be -8/3. The only one that has that is also B. And again, if you want to do the complete process, you'll have y take away -7 equals -8/3 times x minus 7. And you would go from there. And finally, number 20. If I'm finding -4, -4 is less than -1. So I'm just doing 6 times -4, and the answer is -24.